Ladies and gentlemen, wow, we are coming live from Las Vegas, and wow, I got so much greatness in the building here, and
oh man,
I'm not gonna lie, man.
Welcome.
Dude.
I see it.
My brother from another. I'm so excited to have you here and have this conversation, man. It's been long overdue,
man.
Long overdue.
I walked up. I rung the doorbell. I seen who opened the door, and did not expect for my good brother Chris Mike to open the door. Damn.
It's like, dude, you don't even live here. What are you doing?
What's up, my brother?
My bro.
God damn, man. And then we got the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Shiva Paul in the building. Yo, as I said earlier, the sight that I just seen in the kitchen a few seconds ago was crazy.
It's been far too long, man.
Like
far too long.
All of us in one room this many years later.
That means something, right? Like what that can't be no coincidence.
Nah.
So much life has happened, dude, and so many things has happened. You know, sure. I feel like I died a couple of times before I seen you.
Dude,
all of us, man. All of us.
I actually had an accident in the last few years where I almost did lose my life. So, yeah, that's real. So,
what happened?
Car accident in New York City on the FDR. Leaving a Super Bowl party, heading to another Super Bowl party.
Wow.
Yeah, and then leaving that Super Bowl party to go and get food, and never making it to go and get food.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time hearing it. You have any injuries, or you?
Yeah, man. I woke up in ICU with my mom looking at me.
Really?
And I'm all incoherent and just trying to get my bearings and shit. And my mom looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I ask her, "Why are you here? You all right?" And she like, "No, boy, are you okay? Like, I'm here for you." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I am in a yeah." You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember anything that happened?
I remember. No, I don't.
So you don't remember any of that? Like,
no,
until now.
A little bit, yeah, piece by piece, yeah. So yeah, that was pretty crazy, man.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when that happens?
The first thing that goes to my mind when it happened?
Your eyes, you wake up, your mom's there, and she's and you're realizing you're essentially in a hospital,
right?
And like it's
right. So my mom is explaining to me what happened. So I'm finally piecing, two and two together to make it make sense. And I'm like, okay, so all right, piece by piece, I think I remember that. Okay, cool. There was also the news came out there, right? Whatever New York City news outlet came, they were out there and they got the footage. And I've only seen the footage once. Car was mangled. I've only seen the footage once. I had to be like pried out of the fucking car.
Who else was in the car?
It was me. It was my girlfriend at the time and one of her really, really good friends who was the driver. It was his car.
Everybody was okay?
They were okay, yeah. I wasn't.
Wow.
Thank God, man.
I wasn't. Yeah, absolutely. We say, Mafere Funashe Olofi, right? So, Mafere Funashe Olofi for sparing me. I understand now why that may have transpired, right? I get it now. But I had to take that hit at that time. You know what I'm saying? To kind of wake me up for something. Cosmically, I had a conversation in the heavens cosmically at that moment. And I know why I was the only one that was like mad fucked up out of that that accident. I know why. I get it. So I woke up eventually.
Why do you think it was?
Yeah, certain people in your life.
Don't mind me asking.
No, this is what we here for, brother. Certain people in your life you just don't need to. Certain people in your life just don't need to be in your life, and there's no way unless you move them out of your life, unless you remove them, out of your life. God's gonna do it in a way that's a bit unorthodox. He's gonna show you, right, and that way of taking those people or those situations away from you and out of your life ain't always gonna be the perfect ending of a movie. It's gonna be some real life shit.
Absolutely.
So he might have had to wake me up that way.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, kid. Then I also noticed every time I was with that person at that time, some like real dramatic, accidental shit always transpired. It always transpired. So that didn't wake you up the first time? All right, cool. Step in that anthill right there in Atlanta, Georgia, and let these fire ants tear you the fuck to shreds.
So let me ask you something, because when you reflect on something like that, you seem to have a very clear sight on people that needed to be removed from your life, right?
Yep.
So when you reflect on moments like that, like I like to ask myself these same things in life when I notice these kind of things play out, is that clearly there's something that took people out of my life or took me out of situations. Then I ask myself, well, then what about me got me into them in the first place? Like if there was something that wasn't supposed to be there, why did that happen to begin with?
Right.
So what do you think about, if not your own decision making, what brought these people in these situations to begin with?
Being a man. I can't fucking lie to you, bro.
Behind that curtain, you peek.
I'm still a man, bro. I'm still a man, and
but a wiser man from your experiences.
A wiser man from my experiences.
Absolutely.
But when you connect, and when you connect the person that you might be dealing with at that time, you gotta remember too, in that situation, you're not only dating that person, you dating that person friends, you dating that person mom, dad, brothers, whoever they're close,
and the energy they hold within them,
and the energy that they hold within them, right? So when you talk about traumatic shit happening to you, right? It's the energy that the person holds within them, right? If they're used to living their life in chaos, right? If a person is used to living their life in chaos and navigating through life within set chaos, and can still kind of move and shake and make shit happen, that's them. That's for them, right? That's their path. It works for you, it works for you. But if I adjoin myself to that chaos,
you're navigating their chaos now.
not only am I navigating chaos, that chaos that's within their energy is like, oh shit, there's a new person that seems to be coming around all the time. That person must want to be touched on.
And now it's us, not just you.
Now, whatever chaos she's living with, you now living with it. Because you around all the fucking time. What else is going to bounce? Energy does nothing but bounce.
Yep. In our traditions, we call this karma.
There you go.
Now you've shared karma, and now you have the consequences of each other's complexities and energy. And maybe I know how to navigate mine, but sharing mine with you now?
There you go. And now that energy is only going to, that energy of negativity, right? Or chaos is only going to bounce off of you. It's just going to ping pong between each other. It's just going to ping pong between each other. No matter where I am, you could be in the kitchen cooking. I could be in the bathroom brushing my damn teeth. It's going to find me. It's energy.
And energy is contagious, man.
Yeah, it's got to attach to something.
You got contagious energy, man. You're always high energy, and I was telling Shiv, we were in the kitchen talking, and I was like, you know what? Right before you walked in, Shiv was doing his mantras, and I was sitting here and I was recording, and I was like, my brain was like, you're gone. So I was like, I'm gonna go take a nap. As soon as I got out there, I laid down because I was done. I was like, my brain's all like, ding dong.
Yeah.
I was like, who is that? Who's selling security out here, right? I open the door and you're just like, now you brought me back to life.
Yeah.
You brought me back to life. I'm not tired. I'm not the dude. I crashed. I was telling Shiv, he's like, how you feeling? I was like, yo, I crashed like 2.5 hours ago.
Now it's time.
Now it's time. Yeah.
Dude, 2.5 hours ago, man. I crashed, bro.
Man, I'm glad that it's funny because you just like in life, you don't know what type of effect you might be having on people, right? So like I always call myself the Dos Equis man, right? The most interesting man in the world, right? And it's a joke, right? But it's kind of true because I do consider myself the most interesting man in the world, right?
You're an interesting dude, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like to hear people notice that about you and to hear people see that and you just kind of just living your own life. Like, well, that's how I always been. My mom always tells the stories like growing up when I was in like kindergarten and things like that, right? So my mom would take us to school and she would take us on Philadelphia public transportation, which was right down the block from our house. So we would walk to the next corner and wait for the bus to take us to school. And every day, every morning, up until the time my mom stopped taking us to school until we were able to take ourselves to school. Up until that time, every morning she took us to school, saw the same people on the bus. And of course, coming from a city, when you frequent shit like that, it becomes a community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid and I spoke to everybody on the bus. I spoke to everybody so much and created these relationships with people. During holiday seasons, they would give us gifts. Right? They would give us gifts. They would give my mom a card. They would give us chocolates. They would give us a little Christmas something. They would, you know what I'm saying? That was the relationship. So I've just always been me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no other way to be. I don't know how to be anybody else or do anything.
I love that, and one experience it's one of the experience I remember with you that's so impactful for me, man. And we were in a hotel. I can't tell you where we were, and you were dissecting this rhythm on this drum, and you were just, it was so beautiful, but it was so passionate. And it was the way you were just being. You're like, no, you gotta put the pressure into it, and I'm sitting there like, man, like. I'm still trying to figure out my culture and what have you, and I'm like, man, you've got yours figured out, and you're so immersed in it, and it's part of you. It's the music's thriving. It's in your spirit. It's in your spirit. Now your spirit's affecting my spirit. So now I'm seeking information. And Shiv's over here. He's talking about living with the monks, and he has this undired curiosity. And he's seeking. You're seeking, and I'm like, man, okay, help me understand. Like, what is your spirit? Like, when I think spirit's not like more religion. Like, what did you grow up? You grew up what?
So I grew up in a very ancient African, but more specific in Africa, very ancient Nigerian way of life, right? So we say religion and things like that for lack of a better term at the time. But I practice a very ancient African tradition and African way of life called Ifa.
Ifa.
And Ifa is the way of life. In explanation, it's the way of life geared toward positivity, all things blessed, all things abundant, all things protected, and all things safe, right? And all life is supposed to be good for us. Life is supposed to be good. We are supposed to live a good life. That's it, right? And then there's many different aspects and creeds and commandments to Ifa, in which I shared with you earlier, Shiv. Iwa Pele, Iwa Rere. Good character, gentle character. Gentle character, good character, right? Live by that. Live by character. That's what that's what God Almighty or Olofi, right? Or Olodumare. That's what God Almighty has set us out to do in life. Yeah, we need balance, right? We need balance. We need bad things to happen in order for the good to reign supreme and vice versa, right? That keeps that scale leveled here and there. Life's going to happen, right? But it's all in how you honor that life. Why did you do that? Why are you thinking about doing that? Why are you thinking about holding yourself accountable, right? That's just growing up with that idea from, I would guess, to say from birth, because you're taught from birth and you're going to become whoever is in your family and their ideas and their mindset and their teachings and shit like that, right? So from birth, this is all I've known. This is all I've known.
Yeah, Okewa, whenever we speak, like, I always find it so fascinating because, we come from different cultures and different practices, but I always find it fascinating because when people are practicing the true essence of their ancient cultures, and I get to see my own in them, because it shows me that there is a real objective truth that exists to things. Yeah. And if it's really true, it'll emerge no matter where it comes from. And you get to see that even through the differences, when the core thing is the same, it really assures you about the practices you're following. So as you explained what Ifa means, I'm hearing you explain what we call dharma, right? And what's funny is you were hesitant to call it a religion because you said it was a lack for a better term. Now, in my culture, like, actually the word for religion is dharma, but dharma is not it's a way of life. It's the law of life.
Right.
It's the law that consciousness needs to follow to allow progression, to allow transcendence.
Right.
And when you're in dharma, consciousness will continue to evolve within you. When you're in adharma, against dharma, you get sucked down into the toxic individuality and complexities of life that keeps you far away from God or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
And following that structure of life is always going to give your consciousness within you its pure essence. And then talking to you and learning about your traditions, and it's such a, because they're ancient, that's why I find it so fascinating, because they're ancient, and it shows that in the ancient knowledge there was a truth and an understanding of how life a flow life needs to follow, and it was before we had these concepts of religions like we have now.
Right.
And ancient cultures always have a difficulty wrestling with this term religion now, because religion now requires a belief system.
Exactly.
And it sounds like, just like yours and just like mine, it's not encouraging belief. It's encouraging practice. It's encouraging a daily application, and in your experience is where the truth comes in. It's not in your belief, it comes in your experience. You will experience it when you're aligned with it.
Exactly.
And that's why I always love talking to you about your cultures, because I hate when people are always trying to draw the differences between this is your thing, my thing. Let's see where things are the same.
Let's see where things align.
We're under the same sun, no matter what we call it.
I love listening to your guys' explanation, because I come from a background of taking a step away, I say, from religion. My dad was a Jehovah's Witness, so he was like, "Hey, Jehovah's Almighty." Then my grandmother, yep, well, yep. That's so.
If that door's not locked, they're gonna be inside.
My grandmother escaped my grandmother, her family was Jewish, so they escaped from the Holocaust, came to America. But then she joined a choir to make money and essentially converted to Catholicism, which my mom essentially is Jewish but was Catholic. My grandfather stepped away from it. So I had a lot of conflict growing up, understanding religious, and people tried to get me to go and be a Christian. Be a Christian. I was like, well, I'm over here at Catholicism, and they want me to be Jehovah's Witness, and then I have to understand Jewish and Hanukkah and bar mitzvahs, and I'm just fucking confused at this point. Honestly, I'm confused.
a lot going
I'm
on.
confused because my friend just had an awesome Christmas. They got all these gifts. My dad's saying you don't get anything for Christmas, and I'm like, I don't understand. I just as a kid, so as a kid, I'm just these little things. As me growing up, I always had conflict initially with religion, because it wasn't presented to me in a way of one truth. There were so many truths in everyone that
a lot of differences shown to you.
That's dope that you actually share that, to kind of piggyback on what was asked earlier. Understanding that, right? Like I was saying, I come from this from birth.
You were born into it.
I was born into it. So my grandparents are, at the time, they were the eldest. I just buried my grandparents last year, so may they continue to rest in peace. When they were alive, they were the eldest living priest and priestess in the African American community, but pretty much in Philadelphia, right? They were the eldest priest and priestess of the city of Philadelphia. They brought the African teachings and the African thought process and the African way of life. And as I was explaining earlier, the natural, African American woman's hair movement and just movements and, major festivals that we have in the city of Philadelphia today that are very historical, right? My grandparents, I come from that. That's all I know. My name is Okewa. That is a Nigerian Yoruba name, right? That's all I know. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's like, when this is all I know, like, this Christmas thing that you talk about now, do tell, right? Like, I don't know too much. You know what I'm saying? It's just, for me, it's another day, right? Or Valentine's Day and things like, Thanksgiving. Well, so you get to sit around the table and eat with each other. Huh. Tell me more. Right?
I'm in.
I grew up with Kwanzaa and, Ibeji Festival and, you know what I'm saying? Things that we can join in African practice and in African faith, as a family. So that's all I know.
So what's that look like? What's that look like? Because honestly, I'm not as versed. I'm not as versed.
Yeah.
What are events like? What are holidays like? What are birthdays like? Do you have rituals?
Yeah, for sure. So we have our respective days in that essence, right? Like, not Christmas or anything like that, but it's like we have our own calendar as well, right? Where we follow different holidays and different reverence days and things that we should do for ourselves and all that type of stuff. So we definitely have that. We follow a system. You know what I mean? It's not just willy-nilly. We follow a system. It's very controlled. I always like to say, I believe this is where, technology and things like math come from, right? Old ancient African teachings and, that kind of got out there and became worldly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it comes from what Ifa presents and how Ifa presents in a sense of what you're seeing, how to read it, and what it's talking about when you put certain things together, when you leave certain things by themselves, and that comes out for you. How to explain that to said person, and how does that change my life, and been knowing that since I was a baby.
How important was an elder in presenting that information, and where did you start? Do you start with someone kind of molding you and guiding you and kind of walking you through, and you go to grab the cookie out of the cookie jar and it's like, hey, is the nurture, here's why you don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's how this is supposed to be. Here's the thing about the cookie.
Yeah.
So it's like that guidance piece.
As we were kind of bouncing back and forth off of each other's conversation earlier, that idea of service. Right.
Yes.
My grandparents were educators in the city of Philadelphia. Right. My grandmother probably being like the biggest. Right. She did something in Philadelphia not at a time, but she did something in Philadelphia that was kind of like unheard of. She made the news. She made the newspaper. She made all types of media outlets. Right. For caring. Right. My grandmother cared. Right. And she wanted to hold these kids accountable because she cared. Right. That was the type of woman my grandmother was. That was the type of lady she was. Right. Education is key. That is the outlet and the key to all successes in your life. And this is just amongst many things that my grandma taught. Right. That idea of service. Right. If she cares that much about, strangers, what you think she was doing for her grandchildren, her children? How do you think she was teaching us?
I think you're one of the luckiest men in the world. I look at you right now. You're just
what I'm saying. You
can mic drop and walk out, but that lucky son of a bitch.
You know what I mean? So it's that I have to think back on that. No, I wasn't raised like regular. I don't want to say regular kids, but yeah, I wasn't raised like regular kids. Christmas and birthday parties at the local skating rink and Easter, what your mom get you for Easter? What new Easter outfit you gonna wear? Nah, I wasn't raised like that.
That's important. That's important to understand because I don't think you're like other people.
Yeah,
like you said, be yourself, but I don't know. There's not another you.
Yeah, I've always been different, man, and in many different. That's why I'm making a joke, but that's why I'm saying like I'm the Dos Equis man, bro. I'm like the most interesting man in the world because let's throw anything random at Okewa. Music. He's a musician too. Really? Yeah. What else?
Good one. Movement. Mastered movement.
But mastered movement. He's a professional dancer.
Professional choreographer.
Professional stager, right? Mm-hmm. Creative director. Let's talk about some physical shit. He can't. He fights. Mm-hmm. He can box.
So let's talk about service.
You know what, man? It's recognizable to see that it's the essence of your energy because you're a very outgoing person. You're very extroverted, and you're very inclined towards creative outlets. Yes. And it doesn't. You never shy away to practice something new, learn something new, and you have a natural talent for a lot of things. I know we danced together, we've toured together. Yes. Like I've naturally seen that in you. So, do you think that that's something you harness within you? That's something that, or you always had it since you were a kid? Like, was there influences around you that you were very extroverted and expressive?
Very good question. I don't know why I feel like whispering. Like I'm on PBS or something. Very good question. And yes, so very good question, Shiva Lives. We're going to get into that right now. So all right. To make that make sense, right? That was a really super dope question. Because we could play a little like matching game right now, right? So very much understood in the sense of zodiac signs, right? So we know what zodiac signs are, right? And we know how they inside and coexist within within people.
Essentially, yes, understand astrology and
Understanding
astronomy.
astrology and the different signs and what they mean and the sequences of numbers and how you can put all that type of stuff, right? There's different conversation, but you understand astrology in reference to the person, right? So okay, so like I'm a Cancer, right? There's the solid facts you can give about cancers. There's probably solid facts you can give about cancers, right? Male or female, right? We have, in my practice, we have what's called orishas, right? So orishas are those deities or angels per se, right? That walk with you, that guide you, right? And they're very much reminiscent to zodiac signs in the sense of how they connect and match with said person, right? So if you hear about my orisha, you'll hear about my orisha, and then you'll hear about Okewa, or then you'll see what Okewa is involved in, right? Just on the outside looking in. Oh, damn! So he's an artist. That Orisha's an artist. Oh, word! He's a hothead. That Orisha has hot-headed temper tendencies. Oh, he's a big man. Okewa kind of statuesque, right? He's a handsome. That's a handsome man right there. That's a handsome Orisha. Well, Okewa, I ain't gonna lie. Brother's kind of, you know what I'm saying? That Orisha harnesses braids. Oh.
So you're saying in some way
it makes sense.
Your culture accepts or expresses that when the Orishas around you, the person reflects the qualities.
It makes that connection make sense.
And that's why
why these Orishas pick set person, because you match and fit those qualities that Orisha has.
Now you say that, and now I think of where I can draw the parallel. So like in the way we practice it in, let's say, yoga or like the tantric traditions, you are saying you selected what you call an Ishta Devata, which means like because everyone knows, especially in that, there's millions of gods in that culture,
Yes.
especially, right? So
Yes.
now it gets confusing on the outside. What the hell is going on over there? Why are there so many? And it's not to say that there's that many there's that many expressions, right? It's all it all goes back to the same way, but everyone has their own quality. And what the point of an Ishta Devata is that you want to select, or either it's through initiation selected for you.
There you go.
It's a mold that you need to bring these qualities out of yourself. It's like you're water and you're being put into an ice cube, or you're put into a shape that now you kind of reflect through your practices and through your discipline and through your understanding, that you dissolve yourself into this mold. And then you would say in your terminology, accept the qualities of this Orisha. So I want to take that a segue to say I want to understand and see where the parallels are too of what are the structures of your religion as forms of like deities on like the highest level, because I know yours is also kind of polytheistic, where there's kind of subcategories and it all splits into certain ways,
right? And
that's interesting to me too, because it shows the similarities. Because it's, to me, like there's obviously the Abrahamic or the Semitic traditions that kind of keep the figure of God as like one, like just a one thing, and there's not too many subcategories. Right. And when I see traditions like ours, it kind of takes a more almost like dissected scientific approach to God, because there's more qualities. It's not just one thing. There's so many different ways to see it. Like, and to say like, okay,
Exactly.
like to take the god Shiva, for example, in that tradition.
The god, right
God.
there. That's
Nah,
the god,
not me.
right there.
Not me.
That's the god body right there.
I'm just barely a footprint. But you say, and that's to say like Shiva in its true meaning can't exist inside of a person, because it's pure cosmic consciousness, and it exists in everything and everyone. And when we're calling someone Shiva, really what we're saying is that person, that yogi, has dissolved themselves entirely to embody the quality. So there's nothing left in him but Shiva.
Right.
But now Shiva has so many different forms, so many different. There's Rudra, there's Bhairava, there's so many different forms of that. And let's say, well, then how does that make sense? And I would say, okay, well, you're Okewa, right? Now, Okewa sitting here podcasting is a different type of Okewa. Okay, Okewa with his girl is a different Okewa. Okewa as a dancer, a different Okewa. Right. Okewa, all these talents you spoke of, that's a different you, but it's still you. But on a divine sense, you're saying, but this deity, when expressed in this form, has its own presence. Now, if you were to isolate that and take time away, that's indistinguishable. And almost or in some ways so different from the other form. So you almost want to give it a different name so you can identify the different qualities of it.
Absolutely.
But which one resonates with you?
Absolutely.
Which yours? And that I love how your tradition acknowledges that and makes sure everyone understands their own individuality to dissolve into the oneness.
Man, you hit that shit right on the nose, bro. And we can go even deeper with that.
Let's go.
Like
Let's get the shovels out.
We can go even deeper with that, right? So
Go.
the aspect that you even really gave is crazy because not only is a specific Orisha, going to claim you, right? And that you will begin to start your process to initiate to and become living as closely ideology-wise to that Orisha, right? Which is the expectation of you by Orishas, right? But not only do you pick that, now which road of that Orisha is the one that now closely fits you? All right, so now we've already identified the Orisha that is with you. Now, in which, as you just said, in which form does that Orisha sit with you? As we say, sit on your head or on your feet. Which form of that Orisha? Is it Oshun? We know it's Oshun, but is it Oshun Ololodi? Is it Oshun...
the different manifestations.
The different manifestations, right? Or as we say, the different roads, right? Is it, why am I shooting a blank? Oh my God. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Ololo D, and of course I would go to that one because that was my grandmom's road, right? So
different paths.
But they even now the Orishas, not only is there 401 Orishas, now all 401 Orishas got different what? Patakis or stories, different what? Roads or paths or like, oh, now we got to figure that out. Now we got to divulge deeper and figure that one out. Dang. All right.
Does your tradition pass this knowledge down through scripture, or is it an oral tradition?
So it's a very, very oral tradition. Scripture has come later in life because people write books, right? But it's a very oral tradition. You got to be there to see it. You got to be there to document it. You had to be there to understand how this ceremony works, how it goes, step by step process. You got to know what to write, how to write it. You get oral, but you got to be there to hear it, see it. You know, you got to be
It has to be transmitted energetically.
Yeah, and that's also in my religious practice or again way of life. That's also getting your stripes. You know what I mean? Working those rooms and doing the grunt work so that when you do become the priest or priestess that everybody is looking to gain counsel from and, you know, get answers from and get help from, you've put your time in.
How much is that is in music? How much is that into just rhythm and are they correlated? So if you're as an oral, but when I think of oral, I think of lyrics like but a song, but I also memorize it like a song or a rhythm or
very much so. It's the music is the again. So tapping into what we talked about earlier, right? This algorithmic system of belief and what it comes from and how you tap into destiny and things like that. Where technology came from, as I said earlier, and math and all this other stuff, where gospel music came from, right? Where blues music came from. It came from the aesthetic and the setup and the idea of Orisha music, or as we call Oriki, right? That idea of call and response, right? I love you, I love you, I need you, I need, I want you, I want, right? Mawa masiawa lodea. Ero masiawa. Mawa masiawa lodea. Ero masiawa. Mawa masiawa lodea. Ero masiawa. The people call and response. Right?
That's beautiful.
Thank you, man. That's
thank you.
That was, remember too, that was a way of communication. For what we had to go through and endure. Right. Remember, this way of life was ripped away from us. It was taken from us. Right. We had to preserve it. Right. Shout outs to the Spanish descent. Right. Shout outs to the Caribbean. You know,
that's a fact.
They preserved it. So it allowed us to get
I wanted to touch that topic. I wanted to touch that topic too because like especially when you look at the African American culture, because it came from it's a tragic origin story of how it even emerged, because it wasn't emerged under positive reasons. It wasn't a migration. It wasn't a looking for. They were taken from their home against their will and brought here. And then in many cases, other foreign religions imposed on them. It's not, of course, over time, it builds its own culture. And I actually noticed, because, you look at Christianity, you look at kind of how it's been practiced coming from the kind of European side. But then when you see how the African American cultures absorbed Christianity, they put a similar heart into it almost. And whether they meant to or not, it almost shows it was in their DNA to express that soul, that heart into a religion that was foreign to them, and they made it their own. But I wonder that is there almost, do you feel like there's almost a need within the African American cultures to be more exposed to the African religions, the ancient religions? Do you think that their DNA almost like is thirsty for it, and they just never had the opportunity? And maybe at the time of slavery, all they had around them was Christianity, but it was a path then. But do you think there's a need for it? Like, people should know that this is available to them, that maybe this speaks to them more?
Yeah, man, for sure, bro. Like, yo, dude. I remember a time where and this is growing up, man. I remember a time where, I'm a kid from South Philly. That's the inner city. You can't get more city than that, right? And Philly is a city. Philadelphia is a major city, right? Of all the entirety of Philadelphia, it's a city. But within the city, I would say you have sub-cities, right? Or the area of Philadelphia. I'm from South Philadelphia, man. That's damn near Center City, Philadelphia, the downtown district. Right?
Weird question. West Philadelphia, born and raised
on a playground. This is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing and relaxing, all cooling. It's shooting some b-ball outside of the school, and then a couple of guys, they came up to. Started making trip, man.
We know the story.
The rest is history.
You know the story, right?
Let's go.
Yeah. So there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of culture.
Yeah.
Philly is it's known for so many beautiful things, but you gotta be hard. It's not hard from Philly. It's not you. It's
Philly tough, man. Philly's we boo Santa Claus, bro. Philly don't give a fuck, man. Bro, Philly does not give a fuck. Like, we're not rude, but don't try us, right? Don't try us. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they doing roll call in class. All right, Michael, here. Okay, Chris, here. Jasmine, here. My name ain't Jamal. Or
I'm here though, even though you can't say it.
I already know who you on. Me, I'm here. How do you pronounce? Oh, here we go. Right? Yeah, that's different. I used to get teased and talked about, and you know what I'm saying. So I had to experience that shit growing up.
People, you know what I mean? Understand you experience ignorance.
No, so
not you,
to have,
you know what I mean,
right? So having that African essence in a time like that, in a city like that, black people wasn't trying to hear that shit. I mean, we try and get to it and survive. You know what I'm saying? When here we go with all these African names and African aesthetics and African clothing, or as we call it, Ebia show, and you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody getting down with that, man. Y'all niggas is too proud. Y'all too proud to find who you. Monkey see, monkey do, right? Yeah. But that was difficult. But now more nowadays. Our young black people it's clicking for them now. They like, oh man, I got to get back, or I need to divulge deeper into who I am. What's my lineage? Where do I come from? I've always known that, right? Many of those same people who used to talk about my name and make fun of us and now they wearing dashikis, and now they're all pro-black, and now I've been the test dummy.
Well, that's your purpose, man. I think your purpose is to be there for those that are searching for their roots.
Yeah.
And those that want to judge it,
Yeah,
cares?
for sure.
Who gives a fuck, man? But like, there's people that really want to see
and it's better
those
and it's
that embrace
beautiful.
their roots.
And it's beautiful and it's better late than never, right? It's better late than never because again, it allows you to understand who you are as we are navigating this thing called life. It allows you to understand who you are. I encourage people, ask the elders in your family, if you have aunts and uncles, if you have your grandparents still around, your mom, your dad, ask the people in your family, how was Uncle such and such growing up? How was sister such and such when y'all was where does that come? Why do I look like? Ask these things
Take
because
an
it
interest
allows
in
you,
your ancestors.
There you go. It allows you to understand who you are in your family dynamic. It allows you to understand that and why you act the way you act, or why this person acts the way they act. That could have trickled down way, way, way back then. It just hit this generation in this same bloodline, right? So you got to ask these things, and you got to get. I grew up having those things, having that access, having that ease. It was easy to go to my grandmother and just ask her a question. It was easy to go to my uncles or my grandfather and just ask and get information and get history and get lessons and knowledge and, but being able to be proud about that and share that and, be happy about who you are. And that was difficult coming up in a big city like that, man. That shit was hard. That shit was rough. It was rough. It was so rough. My uncles, my mom, they had to deal with that shit. And that was back in the 70s. Think about how much rougher it was back in the 70s than it was for us back in the 90s. And that shit was still hard. But now everybody's, better late than never, though. Happy to see it.
It's a blessing to have the opportunity to be able to stand strong, man. Like, you get to know who you are. You get to, if everything was easy, you would never know what you really have. You would never know the values of your religions and your traditions.
And just throw it around and not care about it.
Yeah, you have to protect it. You have to defend it. People are going to try to take it from you and question you, make you question yourself.
Exactly.
If you can't stand on your feet and when everyone tries to push you over, then what's the value of this?
Exactly.
So, like, in a way, like, I look at this the same way. Like, whether you embrace your religions and your traditions and all early or not, life wants to show you its value, and life wants to show you that there's a reason this needs to be inside of you.
Exactly.
If everything was easy, why? Why have it? Why have this practice? Why have this path? Why have this knowledge? Because life isn't just it's supposed to be easy. Life's supposed to be a challenge. You're supposed to accept it with grace and still find the love, find the thing that connects everybody and get to that place.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it, though. It's the journey.
And sidebar, some funny shit, right? It was real hard growing up in Philly because of who my family was. Right, or is, right, because of who my family is, right. So we own one of the biggest street festivals in not only Philadelphia, in the United States. One of the biggest African street festivals in the United States, called Odunde, which means Happy New Year, right. It's every second Sunday in June. My grandparents were very influential in the creation of Odunde. Right, my grandfather is the one who created the original posters for Odunde, hand drawn. He hand drew every single poster.
Legacy.
Right, my grandfather is the one who got this together and helped. My aunt, my grandaunt, my grandmother's sister, may she rest in peace as well. My aunt Lois Fernandez. She had major connections within the city. Right. So to bring this all together, to make some major history in Philadelphia, let's do what? As a family, let's bring all of our resources together to really push this positivity of African essence and African community to the people and to our neighborhood. And the festival's still going on today. I got to thank my grandparents for that. They did that.
We got to go visit that festival, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it's for everybody.
When is it?
Every second Sunday in June. Every year, every second Sunday in June. So whatever the second Sunday is,
I'm gonna expect you to remind us and
I will
pull us out there.
I sure will.
We out.
I sure will. And then you guys get to not only get to see the festival, but you guys get to be in my actual neighborhood, like
Absolutely.
the grounds I stomped on in Philly.
Absolutely.
Like where I grew up the fuck at. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get to see that shit. What made me such a gangster, nigga? No, I'm playing, y'all. I'm kidding.
Gotta hit South Street, man.
Oh my God, yeah. It's not the same though. It's not the same, but it's still some things down there. Actually, for my vegan folks, because I'm sure y'all tuned in, right? For my vegan folks, there's some real good vegan spots on South Street. You're gonna like it. But South Street really is not the same as it used to be, man.
What changed?
A lot.
The vegan spots?
The vegan spots. They came and took over. Everybody's healthy now. No. just the city's changing. Philly's changing as any major city's going to do, right? It's going to advance and
But it sounds like you don't like the direction it's going in.
not that I don't like the direction. It's just now I've become like, my uncles now. I'm like, man, I remember back in my day, right?
Reminiscing on the old times.
It wasn't like this, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm the old head. You know what I mean? But I like the direction it's going. It's just it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? And then me personally, like religiously, I navigate the shit out of my city. That's where we did it at. But like personally, like dance wise, like I'm from Philly. I exhausted that shit, man. I exhausted that shit when I moved. Right? So let's say, let's cap it off. My West Coast tenure, let's cap it off. 15 years I've been going away from my hometown. That thing has changed. It's kids I might have had that are this big are now teenagers or about to go to college, and you know what I'm saying? They don't know Mr. Okewa anymore. So I'm more connected out here in the West Coast, man. It's my happy place. I love my hometown. It made me the person that I am. It made me the free bird that I am, the person that's able to go and live in these different places and tour with my brothers like y'all and go across the pond, and experience these different countries and shit like that and these different cities here in the U.S. So, Philly gave me that. Kudos to it, but I had to spread my wings and fly, bro. Long time ago.
Absolutely, and because of that, you get to make a bigger impact, which is in your cards, man. That's to make an impact, because I met you as I was traveling on my own personal journey of life, but yet we created these memories, these experiences, and I say they're lifelong.
Absolutely.
Why? Because the most real time of real time, you're here in this moment. It doesn't get much more now.
Man, listen. It's funny because all right. So for me personally, I was working for the same company, but working for like a different chapter of the same company at one point, right? Which was on tour with y'all, right? I was like, I thought I was leaving the dopest shit in the world going on tour with these boys. Then I get on tour with y'all and I'm like, I just walked right back into the dopest shit in the world going on tour with these fucking superstars. Like, yo, y'all don't know what y'all did for me, man. As I told the story earlier, y'all pay attention to me right now. I'm gonna fuck these dudes up. Pay attention to me right now. Close in. Zoom yourself. No, nigga, zoom yourself in. I can't do it. Listen, when I came out there, right? Came to Germany, right? I was all happy, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, right? Landed in Germany. I get to the hotel. I'm waiting for the guys to get to the hotel. I don't know where y'all were. Waiting for them to get to the hotel. They get there. Hey, guys! And they're, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? What's going on? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. Shot it right out. Shot my shit right out the sky. Like, I'm not okay. Why? I was like, yo, are these motherfuckers shit? Do they know who they just played? It was hilarious, yo. But then as time went on, these my brothers for life, man. And then I had to go back to Vegas and I was like, y'all don't want to go. But no, it was love, man. It was love. So
that's why we're all here, man. That's why we're all here. And we got, I also realized, like, when you're touring with people, when you're traveling with people, and when you're having such fast-paced new experiences, side by side with people you really consider your brothers, you become family, because even when you're living with somebody like at home, you get to go out in your own room, have your own elements, your own space. But tour, you're forced to be so close, shoulder to shoulder, and you got to work out your differences quick. Like, you don't have a lot of time to like slowly have passive. We got to work this out quick and then become immediately family.
Dude, we're too close in quarters to be beefing, right? And then, but not only not only that, but next to that, right, bro? It was this type of moments that we had a lot on
That's
tour,
it. This was all
bro.
it was.
This was the dope shit. Yeah, we living like rock stars. Yeah, we got ass in our face all night and we can have whoever. Okay, cool. That was great. This was the moments on the bus or in the dressing rooms that we would have and just zone the fuck out and talk about this type of stuff. And it was just so dope. I didn't get that feel in Las Vegas. That was a different feel, right? But I got what I needed from that squad, that band of brothers. And then I would come to my other band of brothers and get what I needed on that other end. And I felt whole. So y'all made me feel whole.
You know what? We actually, you say that because it actually tied into a conversation we were all having earlier. It's like, we actually lived very unique experiences because we got to experience, in some ways, I would say, the dream of so many men. You know, we had in abundance a lot of things people strive for, and in that we found the real value was actually just connecting, actually just sitting and sharing and having deep conversations and exploring life through our conversations. And just as you're saying, we all reflect on the same thing. Those are the memories we valued, and that's the things we always found important. And all the petty things that we would have just dreamed about if we never had it,
right?
We would have always thought that would have made us happy. But what really connected us was the fact that we all saw the depth in each other.
Man, and listen, like I said, man, you could have had all the women in the world cheering and yelling our names, and it
didn't mean as much as
taking
those
pictures
moments.
and wanting us to sign shit. That was cool, right? But then we get on that bus and wind down, and everybody would just be in a zone, and we did that. And then the beautiful thing about that is that translated on stage for us, right? So we were doing something that you actually got to get a group of people together and tell them and teach them, right? We was doing that shit naturally, right? So that was even better, to add that aspect to our night in and night out performance, right? Because it just made us better. But the moments we had on the bus, the moments we had in catering, the moments we had, in the dressing room, just chopping it up and talking, and, sometimes playing my music or y'all playing y'all music and y'all just hearing, and the beauty and how hype I be getting and how hype I be getting for y'all. Oh, man, it was love. It was love. So thank y'all for that, man, for real.
Thank you, man.
It's actually funny that you say, and not first off, thank you. But it's funny because I actually want to thank you.
I appreciate you, bro.
To bring this full circle, man, I was telling you earlier, I was talking to Kahlo, and Kahlo's asking me about, where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
And
shout out to Kahlo.
Shout out to Kahlo. Wherever he is, making heaven,
right.
for people, making
right.
blessings for people.
Filling their bellies with wholesomeness.
The best food ever.
Yes, indeed.
Ever.
Indeed.
Love. And he asked me a question, looked at my eyes and said, my friend, where are you from? I was like, from USA. He said, no, where are you from? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I'm a black and Italian and mix those together. Where are you from? And he keeps looking me in my eyes. Now, after the third, I'm like, am I not answering this right? Like it's what a... And then he just started asking me in a way like, what's your lineage? What's your family?
Where are your roots?
Where are your roots? Then he started articulating his roots and started articulating how his family from Italy and his traditions. And I felt something in that moment. And what it was is I didn't know. And because I didn't have that exact answer to give him, I realized that there's something missing in that exact moment.
It's like he planted a question in you that you had never asked yourself before.
Right.
I haven't. I think I asked myself and I walked away from the question and never really prioritized it until it was re-asked. And in that moment, it was the trigger, and he wanted to know where and what that was, and to the point where I said I didn't know. Fast forward from that moment. I couldn't answer it. So I'm like, man, I start asking my grandmother. My grandmother, I start saying,
go to the elders.
I go to my grandmother because my grandmother's back home, and I realized that I left home very early. And I went on a journey of a spiritual enlightenment myself by seeking knowledge my way. Mm-hmm. I got things. I did things. I went places. But that mentorship and that knowledge, it was never steered in that direction until I started asking those questions. And I had to go back to the roots.
Right.
So as I go back, I went to my grandmother and said, this gentleman asked me a question, and she starts telling me about my grandmother and starts telling me about how we're linked to the Holocaust. She's like, do you know that our family is Jewish and we came here from the Holocaust? I'm like, okay. Shit. Okay.
You got that? Yeah.
Start asking my other grandparents my last name. My last name is Mike. I was like, they're like, do you know where your name came from? I'm like, I'm assuming, we're from Spain. From what I hear, it's from what I hear from someone. Like, no, it was actually a slave owner, part of the slave trade. So my great grandfather was a slave and came to the Carolinas. In that family, the slave owner name was Mike.
Okay.
And somehow I had a great grandfather and a great grandmother somewhere down in the Carolinas that took the name of a slave owner, and that name got passed down, and they just kept the last name all the way through Mike.
Wow.
And so as I'm asking these questions, I said, okay, I got to go deeper. DNA ancestry. Let me get this down here and see where it comes from. And I tracked that back to having so many backgrounds in Mali, Nigeria, Tongo. There's so many different ethnics and so many different practices, dance and storytelling, and the ability to bring people together from the camaraderie in which it's in my DNA. It's in my DNA. And until I start asking those questions, it started really pulling me closer and really genuinely appreciating these conversations because, man, like I've learned so much from you and I relate to so many things. And even though I can't articulate it as to where it comes from, it's home.
Yeah.
It's home. It's but yet it still creates something.
Yeah.
It creates something by having these moments. It's so powerful. So that's what I said. Thank you.
And you're welcome, my brother. And again, you never really know what you're doing for somebody, and and you're just living it, right? I'm just living life, and I'm trying to do the best I can at being as genuine as I can and as honest as I can in my own life. That if it transpires to outside of what my own personal thing is, then that's great. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for that, my brother. Going back to the elders, man, going back to the most original blood in your lineage, you know what I'm saying, was great, man, because you get to see who you are. You get to learn that information. These are topics of conversations that somebody coming up under you and your bloodline is going to ask you, hey, Uncle Chris, how was, you know what I mean? And you're going to be able to, our lineage comes from, and the way that it was connected is you're going to be able to give that. And that's a beautiful thing, man. So, I always try to live my life like that. You know what I'm saying? Sit at the feet of the elders and you'll learn the world. You know what I mean? And
that exactly the way you said that is funny because like in my culture, and this is actually like a very important thing that people always, it trains you to understand that exact thing, is that when you go to someone elder or respected, you touch their feet. And that in fact, that's how when I would greet my grandparents, before you even go and hug them, you go and touch their feet. You touch the roots.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Can I tell you a crazy story, interesting story?
Please.
Almost made me cry. There was a group, I'm at Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport, right? I'm about to go in, but I got enough time to just chill outside real quick. I'm about to go in. I noticed this car pull up. It's an Indian family that got out. The elders of the family are going to get on the whatever flight, wherever they're going, right? It's a married couple. 3 boys got out. So I'm guessing there's 3 of their sons. They got out the car, got their bags, helped them with their bags, put them down, and they all came over to their parents. I'll never forget this shit. Because it's very like-minded in what we do. It's very like-minded in what we do. I can't specifically remember which ankle or foot that they touched, but they bent down. We call it dobale. To dobale is to go to the feet of the elders and prostrate yourself so that you can get your blessing. D-Day, rise.
Receive.
And then come and get the end of your blessing. They all bent down and touched the elders' ankles. They went down the line, and they did it, and they did it. And I was sitting there, and I was looking at that shit, and I was like, damn, that was powerful. Because I recognized that. And these people are not, they don't practice Ifa. I don't know if they were...
they practice respect, and that's universal.
And that's culture, and that's one of the reasons why I always say, something I always say, I respect anybody that respects and believes in something positive and that can push positive spirituality forward. I respect it. So I love your lineage. I love where you come from, and I love what you engulfed yourself in for quite some time, because you found your destiny. You found your
Likewise,
path.
brother. I like to see that in all of us. I
Yeah.
like to see us all on our paths. All of us learn, all of us grow, and all of us evolve. And then this is where we learn from each other. Like, there's the truth is truth.
Man,
Like, we don't make it up.
I have another friend, bro. Again, I'm the Dos Equis man. When I got initiated to become a Babalao, right? That same couple of days, my Jewish friend, one of my bestest Jewish friends I grew up with, right? He's the reason I was ever able to experience my first bar mitzvah, right? He was going through his initiation too to become a rabbi.
It's all coming together. Different colors, the same thing.
I'm on tour with somebody that's about to go and indulge themselves into the depths or the beginning depths of what it is that they're supposed to be out here doing. You can't make this shit up, bro. That's you can't make that up.
And I truly trust we all met for a reason, and we will find out why maybe down our lives. But there's a reason we all.
This might be it.
This might be the beginning of it for sure. And we all met. We all created such a union, such a bond amongst each other. We saw a tribe form. Not one we chose, as life chose it for us, and it became clear and clearer throughout time because it was seamless through everybody. No, we didn't. Didn't take effort. It didn't take effort to connect with all of us, and then we saw all of us go on our own journeys and progress and learn and grow and then come around to now be able to share with people, help other people see through the darkness, see through their own complexities and be a hand that pulls people out of it. And that's the best thing you can do. And you also talked about how your culture really emphasizes service, right?
Man.
And in my culture, it's the same thing. You call it karma yoga, which is right. Like, it's you're practicing yoga through karma, through action.
Yes.
Karma means action.
Yes.
And it's important because in that it's not just the service. It's the service with no expectation of gratitude or rewards. It's not about that. It's not about what you get back. It's about what you do.
Just doing it because it's supposed to be the way.
And it's
that
devotion.
you do it.
Devotion to
There you go.
others.
Yep.
And it becomes the quality.
Yes.
It's like, I don't care if you like it or not. I'm just going to do what I can do to help you.
Yeah.
And if you can be that genuinely, you can embody compassion. You can embody service and devotion. Then you unlock those things that are hidden within you. And that's such a very important thing to do because no matter what you learn, no matter what you do, like what you practice or what you preach, if you don't have that genuine quality embodied within you, if you don't have true humility, if you don't know how to touch the feet of someone you respect, if you're too good for that, like, if these are the things you're holding within you, what's the value of teaching you something? What's the value of your practices? And there's no value in you because you don't have humility.
Exactly.
You don't have humility and you don't have respect and you don't know, because my guru would always say, if you're going to learn from someone, especially if you're going to learn from a realized master, a realized teacher, and you have to understand it's like you're a cup, and you're trying to be poured into by a pitcher.
Yes.
Right. And there's two very important factors there. First of all, you cannot be the same height as the pitcher or the water falls.
There you go.
First of all, you have to be lower, and then you have to come empty. Don't come full of your own stuff and expect to receive anything. So these are very important things you have to tune yourself to understand. And they're very deep when you look far into it. And that's why even like it sounds like the cultures, I'll admit, sometimes I'll go and touch my grandfather or grandmother's feet and it's habit. I don't even think about too much.
Yeah.
And sometimes I really, and especially like the last times I ever did, in some way I always knew that, this is a real important thing to always understand. Like you never lose connection to the roots and never lose the humility. Always go straight down.
Bro, 30 plus years old, bro. When my grandmother and my grandfather were still on this earth, I still do-ba-laid to them, bro. I still went down to them and they would be like, boy, get up. We ain't not bending down that far. And then my grandmother was wheelchair bound, right? Towards the last couple of years of her life, she was wheelchair bound, amputated got both of her legs amputated. So, that was a struggle, but just even in that position, right? Just natural movement, knowing damn well she's not going to maneuver her way to get to me. It ain't, no, she's an elder. But just natural movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even my uncle is in his late 50s. And I still, I'm a grown ass man with him. You know what I'm saying? I still do ballet. I still go down. And my uncle be like, nah, come on, get up. I ain't bending over, man.
That's the
My back.
genuine exchange, though. It's like, I will fight you to bow, and you fight me not to, and it has to come genuinely in
There you
both
go.
directions.
You know
Like,
what I'm saying? So I don't care. I'm 30 plus. Nope. Right. Even when I talk to elders, if they sitting down, I kneel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't stand up and talk to them. Yeah. What? I don't stand up and talk to them. That's that type of energy that you give.
You become the cup.
Yeah.
The position of the cup.
Yeah. I got to go down. I got to go under you. I have to go under you. You've lived this life. I ain't do shit yet. I ain't did nothing yet.
And these are subtle placements of energy that it's sensitive to, especially people that are on very particular spiritual paths and practices. It's very important to understand, because these are not just symbolic; it's energetic placement. You have to sit lower.
Yeah,
you
man.
can't sit equal or higher and expect to receive, and expect some part of you not to. You shouldn't be trying to feel like an equal here. You should be trying to receive.
Do you think modern society accepts those practices now?
It rejects it.
Yeah. Modern society is so man. Don't get me started, bro, because you just opened up the motherfucking floodgates.
No.
Modern society, because I've had this conversation with
I believe I believe what you guys are saying, and I respect it.
it's not that modern society doesn't accept it. The elders are sick of you young niggas, man. I can't. What other way I'm gonna put it? I can't put it no other way. The elders are sick of you young niggas. No, I'm playing. But on some serious tip, the elders feel as though, and this is just my opinion. The elders feel as though that we not listening. We want to do it. We gonna do it our way anyway.
Arrogance.
And then the young people think that, so they're not gonna go to the elders to get the proper information that's needed. They're gonna go off of what they know. I've never been that way, because the elders ain't here for much longer. Let's be real, right? They're not here for much longer. So you got to get them and pick their brain piece by piece as much as you can, whether they are your blood relative, whether they are a friend, whether they are an associate, whether they're somebody that you frequent on a daily basis in your neighborhood. Speak to these people.
Well, then
Speak
you're
to
a
them.
good example of someone that was exposed to a culture that instills respect on you young, and then it shows how you evolve over time. And then in contrast to people that were not, and this is also why I feel like it's important for people in your and my position to understand too, is that not everyone had that when they were young.
Right.
They didn't have the elders. They didn't have the people guiding them. So they grew up with arrogance. They grew up with ignorance. And, you can't force knowledge onto someone that's not willing to receive it. But some people, some part of them are. And they do need that helping hand by people that were given the opportunity to learn this young and are able to embody that and show that this is not weakness. Bowing is not weakness. Bowing to someone that's suppressing you and trying to enslave you is weak. That's different.
That's different.
But someone that's trying to help you and
I need
teach
that
you.
energy. I need that power.
That's where the strength
You
is.
gotta give me that blessing. I need that. You know what I'm saying?
Or you're rejecting it. That's ridiculous.
I speak a lot about my upbringing and my family, and I tell people all the time, man, I was very lucky, bro. Like, I was lucky. Somewhere in the heavens, or as we say in Yoruba linguistics language, in Yoruba language, the Orun, heaven, the Orun, or Ile Orun, home of heaven, right? I was really blessed by heaven, man, to enter my way into the family that I chose. Right. I was very, very blessed, man. My father was not in my life the way, the perfect family setup, right? My father wasn't in my life like that, but he was in my life. Right. I have a really, really good relationship with my father. Shout outs to my dad, man.
I remember meeting your dad.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna lie. I thought that was your younger brother.
Yeah.
He's shredded, looks young, full of life. You're like I'm like your dad. You look like his dad.
You met him in
What are you talking about?
Yep. You met him in Anaheim when we were in California. Yep.
You look like his dad.
Yeah, right. Right. So
Young. He has young energy.
And my dad makes jokes about that. He makes jokes about that. I be cracking the fuck up, bro. But yeah, like my dad wasn't really, he ain't really raised me. He was in my life. That's my guy. I love my father, right? I love him. I worship the ground he walks on, right? That's my guy. I don't, whatever. All that other shit, all right, cool. Whatever, right? But that's my dog. But I have friends who were not raised in a dynamic like mine. I got 5. My grandparents had 7 children. My grandparents had 5 boys and 2 girls. Right? Rest in peace to the second oldest boy, my Uncle Bay. Rest in peace, Ibai Tuno. But 7 children? I had nothing but the village in my fucking house. Like I can't use, well, my daddy wasn't in my life. That's why I'm acting up in school. I can't use that. First and foremost, I can't act up in school. My grandma gonna hear about that shit and tie fire to my ass when I get home because I live with the lady.
Consequences are dire.
I couldn't do no wrong in Philly, bro. That shit wasn't no game, right? That talk about growing up. That's how being raised in Philly was, right? But I had the village, man. I had 5 men in my life that made me the man that I am, the man that my brother is today. That's lucky.
I think
That's a blessing.
I think you turned out to be an amazing person.
I thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
And you know what? I want to correct one thing.
You have too, bro.
Just trying to be like you, bro.
That conversation we had earlier, man, was needed. Thank you. It was great. Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to correct one thing about how you term that, because an important way to look at it. I would say you should always tell yourself it's not that you're lucky, more so that the people whose lives you will touch are lucky that you exist. And you exist for them, and that's service. And I have to remind myself, you have to remind yourself, and because we may think we're being grateful, but sometimes it may create a potential for our own arrogance to think we're that special. We're not special. We're here to serve others. And they're lucky.
Yes.
And we're there to be part of their luck.
Yes. Yes,
and that's what it's really about.
I'm gonna start using it that way, bro. That was deep. That was heavy, man. Damn.
I could attest to that from this guy over here, from both of your lights and both of your backgrounds and your spiritual past and your journeys as men, and you know, men have walked different paths but turned out to be awesome examples of men in service, regardless of where you come from. I respect you both. And I mean,
likewise, man.
And I appreciate y'all. And I mean, from a conversation, if you had to leave anybody, all your millions and millions of fans,
billions, bro. Millions.
Billions.
Use that M word.
Wherever the fuck you guys are,
they're waiting, man.
Wisconsin.
Right.
Nah.
Right. What would I leave off with?
What would you leave your millions of fans with, man? Because we all come from different backgrounds, bro. But yet somehow all of this has brought us together. And from you being genuinely you, him being genuinely me being genuinely just myself. And here we are.
Absolutely. I think I would leave my fans with, not my fans. I hate fans. That means fanatic, and I don't want nobody to be a fanatic over me. Support me. Because I'm going to support you. I'm not a fan of nobody. I'm a supporter. All right, boom. There we go. I think I would leave my supporters with kindness. Kindness. We need to begin to create a more sustainable, kind world. That's what I would say. And take that for whoever's watching. Take that as you take it. I know how I take it. And how I take it is lead by example, but spread joy. Spread joy, right? We already live in a really hectic ass world that doesn't really give a fuck about us. The world don't care about us, right? So that leaves you to ask the question, are you of the world? Or are we in the world? And I've always believed I was in the world. So because I'm in the world, that means I'm a different living being of everybody that's out here. I've always thought about this, right? And what's my one motive that I could just rapid fire say right now? Kindness. When you honor kindness, you'll begin to honor your heart, your character. You'll begin to honor your mind, your ori. And you'll begin to honor the elders. You'll begin to honor children. You'll begin to honor your family different. This is what we need. This is what we need. We got too much blood spilling out in the streets. We got too much turmoil in the world, across the pond. It's crazy, man. Kindness, all right? We need to be kind to each other because these next couple years about to get real, right? So be kind to each other. We're better together than we are apart.
Agreed.
With that being said, I don't think there's any other words needed. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Running Bear, and welcome to the tribe.
Oh shit.